MSI is bonkers already.
Maple gets one, Maple gets two, he looks for three, and he's gonna get it, a triple kill. Here comes Darshan, it's already 4-1, make that 5, a triple kill for Darshan.
And Supermassive now continuing the onslaught. There are such low health bars ultimate from Thordrin. 2 more.
Oh, the binding!
Picks up one, Naru the other. Faker not gonna be dead. And take it all back. And there goes the Nexus.
哇，等 WCG，
闪电电了，一个 Q 直接收到，我的天！哇，小虎证明了自己单杀了 Faker 这波。
Royal never giving up, never saying die, never surrendering.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Day 3 of the 2016 Mid-Season Invitational, coming to you live from the Oriental Sports Center in Shanghai, China. As you can see here, plenty of people in the crowd with lots of energy. A nice shot of our beautiful venue that is playing host to all of our games. Flash Wolves looking fairly confident as they walk down the halls on their way to their first game of the day. SK Telecom, though, they will be looking to rebound after a poor performance on Day 2. And RNG taking to the stage in front of the home crowd. They sit atop our tables at 4-0. They have to be feeling good after all of that. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, James Dash Patterson, here to break down all the action as it happens. With me is League Master Series Clement Chu, North America, Sam Kobe, Hartman Kensler, and from the European LCS, Martin Deficialunga, who looks to have plenty of notes today.
It's all the stuff on G2.
These are all the excuses that he's got.
I got you the practice thing here. We can take that one away already. We got the next one lined up.
All right, I love it, I love it, I love it. Well, let's start by taking stock of how the teams are arranged after our first 2 days. As mentioned previously, RNG are undefeated at 4-0 with the LMS's Flash Wolves right behind them at 3-1. Korea's SK Telecom and North America's CounterLogic Gaming are tied at 2-2. Turkey's Supermassive have a win under their belt, while the EU LCS's G2 Esports are in 6th place at 0-4.
Yay!
Yay, there it is. And turning to what we've got in store today, our action kicks off with a table-topping clash between Flash Wolves and Royal Never Give Up. Then the tied CLG and SKT hit the rift, so someone's got to give there. And G2 will look for a much-needed win against Turkey's Supermassive. Gentlemen, in terms of topics today, I want to start with SKT because a dominating performance on Day 1 and honestly, an abysmal one on Day 2.
Yeah, I think SKT, if we look at like each player individually, they didn't show up yesterday at all. We got a few clips running here. First, like a mistake from Blank, follows up. We get a mistake coming in from Duke, flashing too late. You know, we can keep rolling these clips and just see more and more individual mistakes. Faker, of course, start recalling between 2 towers just in a few seconds. And these kind of mistakes we don't normally see from SKT happened yesterday. That's why they fell behind, and then they got outscaled.
Yeah, it was a lot of individual mechanical mistakes to give the lead to Flash Wolves, and then Flash Wolves really took that and ran with it. Very clean macro from them, which people honestly weren't expecting.
Yeah, the Flash Wolves coach, Fluidwin, told them to go super aggressive, because you can't out-macro this SKT, but you can force them to make micro mistakes.
Yeah, or can you? Because ultimately, Flash Wolves take it to 5 Dragons, couple Barons. They played a very, very clean game.
They did, and I also think SKT kind of limits themselves with the compositions they do run right now. Picking Nidalee for Blank, where he's not really showing up on the champion, but it's also about, you know, the team not using the picks they do have.
Yeah, I mean, counter jungling, it's always a team activity. We always talk about this. And also, coming into this, SKT specifically, they were 10th in Korea as far as time spent counter jungling. And Korea was already the lowest region as far as time spent counter jungling by their junglers. So not really a style that they had practiced a lot of. And you can see it, the side lanes. Duke, as you said, made some mistakes up top. Bang even made some uncharacteristic mistakes against NL, who is one of the underperforming AD carries. So when your side lanes aren't going to push up with you like that, it makes it really hard to utilize.
Yeah, and again, that's the important thing. It's not a single player doing poorly in SKT, it's the entire team right now. And then you can look at the pick and ban phase, and while the champions in itself are very, very strong, the way SKT are playing with them and with the mistakes in the early game, they don't work. And what ends up happening when they play against double teleport, as an example, you have this Azir sitting mid lane. Well, your side lanes are being pressured. You can't really do anything. Flash Wolves played such a clean game. the kind of style I actually expected to see at MSI. You know, double TP 1-3-1, macro heavy, not that many kills. Instead, we get all these games where people are just kind of running into each other.
Well, and as we had this stumble from what we thought was going to be our tournament favorite, that gave an opening to teams like RNG and Flash Wolves, who now sit atop the standings fairly comfortably.
I think the thing about like RNG and Flash Wolves punishing SKT is when they group up mid, SKT's game plan is to prolong the stuff and really just get sieges going, but like RNG are collapsing them on multiple sides. If you look at the similarities, it's Sword Art and Mata doing very good engages on Alistar.
Definitely, I mean, 2 supports showing up. And it's funny we mentioned Alistar because he's probably been like the strongest pick.
He's got a
in this tournament.
100% win rate here at MSI.
Yeah, like this pick is too strong to kind of give over to the other team. Often it's actually the red side who gets it because you don't first pick the Alistar, you give it over instead, ban it away or take it on blue side. It is too strong because these supports have shown they understand how to start fights.
Yeah, and the other thing is that China and LMS have had success in different ways here at MSI. China actually, they're playing the game that China likes to play. I mean, they came in as the region with the highest kills per minute of any of the regions, but if MSI were a region, we would have the highest kills per minute of any of the regions, big top regions coming into this, just because that would make sense to anyone watching the games, how many kills that people have been throwing around. 23% more kills per game than the global average.
Yeah, 6 different regions came to China, and they end up playing China's game.
Except for Flash Wolves, yes.
Except for Flash Wolves.
That's what we want to see.
They're doing it differently.
Well, and that's nice to see that there can be competing styles here, and that's going to kind of tee up our matchup. And let's jump into Flash Wolves a little bit, talk about this style that they played and how it might fare against RNG today.
Well, in the interview, I think both of these teams are looking to snowball mid. Sword Art and Karsa both believe that the most important lanes in the meta is the mid and the jungle matchup. And if you look at these mids, they're absolutely monsters. Maple, 11.4 KDA, that's the top in the league. 81% kill participation, also top in the league. If you look at Shahu, he's a damage god. 869 damage per minute. Highest in the league by far.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, those are some crazy stats. I mean, highest kill participation in the tournament as a mid laner is fairly odd. That's not something we see very often.
It also shows that Flash Wolves as a team, they don't really do anything unless Mabel is involved. Like, you don't get 2v2 kills in the bottom lane. We don't see MMMD soloing anyone in the top lane. So everything involves that mid lane. That's why Mabel is so important for this team and why Shahu has to be able to shut him down.
And everybody's damage per minute numbers are going up because there's so much fighting going on.
Yeah, so SKT losing 2 games yesterday was definitely a surprise. Another surprise for some people was Supermassive's victory over CLG. Let's talk about that one.
Okay.
I know it stings. I know it stings.
Yeah, but honestly, it was barred here from Dumbledoge. A huge play from him right there. CLG, honestly, them trying the Sivir pick here, picking it into the Lucian and leaving up barred. A lot of people have criticized them for a little bit maybe underestimating their opponents in the picks and bans and not, doing more target bans. CLG's motto coming into this was going to be respect all, fear none, but it didn't exactly look like they were following the motto.
It is okay, though, to fear certain lane matchups and then be like, oh,
like
we
the
actually...
Sivir into Bard
Yeah, we don't want to lane this, let's swap instead.
Right.
I think CLG was saying we're playing Supermassive, we expect to be the better team, so we will show a few picks that might change the mindset of pick and ban when facing CLG in the future, like the Sivir, which we hadn't seen in N8 before. Because it is a pick, if you do play it well, teams tend to ban it away because it is still very, very strong if you play it as a team. And they should be able to because they're built around teamwork.
And what they did show was some of the weaknesses of the champion. Some people are just blindly like, perfect champion, pick it all the time. But obviously there are some weaknesses. Probably not quite all due to the champion,
don't die 4 times in a lane.
A lot of them were also due to the person piloting the champions.
I really did think that Hui and Stixay got exposed a little bit. This is what we were saying coming into the tournament, that CLG has the weakest carries. And yesterday, I think props to the Turkish team. They did expose that.
And again, CLG and Turkey Supermassive will be playing again today. So that's a quick turnaround for a rematch between these 2 teams. We'll see if CLG maybe comes in and respects that a little bit more.
Yeah, they're very good at learning from their mistakes. I think that they will be able to regroup.
Alrighty, well that leaves us with G2. The team still yet to pick up a win. Deficio, can they do it today?
He told me if they go 0-2 again, he's going to wear a dress tomorrow.
Right,
we heard it here.
Pretty bad bet from my side, I realized.
Shocks has some nice selections that you can pick from.
The thing is for G2 now, they should be able to beat Supermassive if we talk about G2 as a team normally. But this team
You
right
keep
here.
saying this normally.
Yeah, no, but like this team right now, I actually don't think they're favorites at all against Supermassive. I think it's going to be a very close game. And the thing for G2, honestly, they need to just stop thinking so much about all these excuses and like all these problems they have and just say, you know what, guys, let's actually just focus on the game.
Right.
Take a little bit relaxed when we're in there and communicate with each other because they are good enough players, but they make so many stupid mistakes.
Exactly. They're not playing as a team, and there's these really basic things. They're not, timing cooldowns of teleports. They're chasing really far, not really accounting for where their opponents could be. It's basic communication between the guys.
Yeah,
It looks
it's
like
amateur mistakes.
It looks like the team is tearing itself apart from the inside. The Wolfpack definitely a lot of infighting there.
Ultimately, maybe some focus issues there for that team, but we'll see. They still have some time to get it together and maybe make a run at that bracket stage. Now for a local look at the tournament so far, we're going to check in with Shox in the interview lounge.
Thank you very much, Dash, and no worries, the Fish Show. You can always borrow one of my dresses, maybe, if G2 go 0-2. We'll see what happens. But for now, though, I'm joined here by Cool, a very familiar face, of course, the long-standing mid laner for OMG. Very happy to see you again, Cool. And first off, tell me what it's like to have the mid-season invitational right here in your home country and in Shanghai.
首先呢，想问一下你觉得今年的 MSI 能在上海打，你怎么感觉？然后觉得现场如何？
我感觉现场就是气氛特别好，然后也毕竟是在自己的赛区举办比赛，然后感觉也非常的有荣誉吧，同时也很开心，然后今天能够受采访。
So he's very happy to be here today, and he loved the crowd, and it's an honor to host MSI at China.
Yeah, and the crowd has been very, very loud as well, and then they need it because Cool, of course, you are part of that legendary OMG lineup that did very well in Season 3 and Season 4. You also had the Starhorn Royal Club back then. Why do you think it is that in Season 5 the LPL teams didn't seem to show up internationally?
首先呢，你在 OMG 的时候打得非常好，然后在 Season 3、Season 4的时候你们统治了比赛，然后那时候皇族也非常厉害。但是到了 S5的时候呢，中国队LPL 队在外面有些失利，然后你觉得为什么会这样子？
我觉得就是当时也是，你能不能重复一下问题？就大概了。
就是为什么以前 S3、S4 这么厉害，但是 S5的时候中国LPL 的队伍表现没有那么好？
一个就是当时我们队伍比较少吧，就是中国国内的队伍厉害的可能这个实力悬殊比较大，所以我们比较容易突围。然后到了 S5呢，就是韩援的加入，然后包括各个队伍慢慢的成长，然后想出线就变得非常困难了。
但是 LPL 为什么 S5 表现不好？
就是因为韩援的加入。
So he think back in Season 3 and Season 4, there's less competition in China. Therefore, it's easier for them to go on the stage and to perform. But after S4, there's a lot of Korean imports and gets really harder. And he think Korean imports might be the reason why they falter at S5.
Well, the team that's topping the table here right now is that team comprised of both Korean and Chinese players. RNG has been doing really, really well. What have you made of their tournament so far, and especially their win over SKT yesterday?
但是 RNG 昨天的表现非常好，你觉得他们在这个比赛表现的如何？特别是他们昨天击败 SKT 的比赛表现怎么样？
我觉得昨天的 RNG 状态非常好，然后也在 BP 上面，我觉得比对面 BP 做的要好。然后中野的麻辣香锅和小虎的表现也非常的亮眼，他们完全的压制住了整个局面，然后节奏也在他们手里，所以很快的就是赢得了这场比赛。
So he think RNG performed really well yesterday. They did outpick and ban SKT. They did a phenomenal ban pick phase, and also their mid and jungler synergy is great. So that's how they'll be able to overshadow SKT's mid and jungler, and that's how they control the game. And they think it's a great victory.
Does he think that mid jungle control, now especially looking at Zhao, who might be enough to win MSI?
那你觉得RNG 有可能取得 MSI 的冠军吗？
我觉得 RNG 应该很大机会能进决赛。取得冠军要等后面的这个，因为这是毕竟刚刚开始，所以说形势还不是很明朗。但我希望 RNG 能够在这次 MSI 取得好的成绩，然后加油。
So he think RNG can make to the finals. Since it's still early in this tournament, he's not sure about what's going on next. So but he think RNG has a good chance and he'll cheer for RNG.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Cool, and have an awesome time here at MSI. For now, though, RNG is setting up on stage as they will get going up against the Flash Wolves in our first game of the day. So let's meet our casters, Spawn and Quickshot, and take us into that one.
Thank you so much, Sharks. It's so incredible hearing from one of the legends of the mid lane, Cool. My name is Trevor Quickshot Henry, and I'm joined by none other than Australia's pride and joy and my Commonwealth brother, Jake Spawn Tabiri. How you doing, man?
Yeah, good. G'day, mate. How is it going on? What a fantastic tournament that we find ourselves in the middle of. I love what OMG's Cool was saying there. They are the last Chinese, all Chinese roster within the LPL, and the faith in the duo in the mid lane and jungle there of the two young Chinese players. It's beautiful to see one of the veterans of the scene giving him his support.
And talking about the veterans of the scene and Xiaohu in particular, let's take a look at Xiaohu's opposite number. As we've mentioned, Flash Wolves versus Royal Never Give Up. Xiaohu's going to have a tougher match this time around against Maple. These are the two top performing mid laners in the entire tournament.
Yeah, and who would have thought you would get to say that with SKT's Faker, but Maple versus Xiaohu certainly seems to be the matchup to watch. Maple also plays the LeBlanc, the Azir, but he also has a standout game plank. So much of his team's damage, 35%. Honestly, the fact that this guy can consistently perform this way in such an elite class of mid laners just shows how good the LMS region are in that regard.
Absolutely the case. And, you know, mid-jungle synergy, Cool was talking about it, the analyst desk was talking about it. It's something we're going to have to track throughout the course of this game and the remainder of the tournament. For now, let's take a look at the starting rosters. Of course, on the blue side, it is going to be the LMS's Flash Wolves. Starting in the top lane, it's MMD. Fisher likes to add an extra juicy one there. In the jungle, it will be Karsa. He will be backing up that star mid laner, Maple. He'll be looking to pick up another victory here. NL, the AD carry, who's quite pleasantly surprised at MSI and sought out their coach with Fluid Wind, their coach for picks and bans.
Yeah, it certainly is. On the other side of the rift, it will be Royal Never Give Up, the LPL representatives, with Looper in the top laner. MLXG is the spicy hot pot in the jungle for the team, as well as Xiaohu, the little tiger in the mid lane. Wushin, their AD carry. Marta, their godlike support, as well as the coaching staff of Fly.
And I think we have to upgrade Xiaohu from little tiger to beast destroyer of everyone tiger currently.
Yeah, he certainly is. And what a tournament the guy's having. I mean, dismantling Pawn in the LPL final didn't seem to be enough for this guy. Moving on to more world champions, taking out Faker in their game yesterday. It must feel good as such a young player. I mean, last year, the season kicked off and he wasn't even able to play for his team, Gamti. He was only 16 years old, now 17, moving into such a world-class stage.
And listening to this crowd, when he locked in that LeBlanc yesterday, it literally tore the roof off. We're jumping into picks and bans. A reminder for everybody watching, it is patch 6.8. Aurelion Sol is enabled. Tarek is disabled for the entirety of the tournament due to the rework. And we're jumping into this. Now, I want to see whether or not Alistair makes it through the picks and bans. 92% pick ban rate. He's currently undefeated at 5-0, and both Sora and Mata have played phenomenally with that champion.
Yeah, certainly have, but a little bit different as it does get taken off the board. You heard Clement talking about it. Sword Art is kind of the stealth Alistar. He finds his way behind enemy lines. Mata and RNG love to play front to back comps, so Mata does use it as a little bit more of an initiation tool there.
All right, taking a look at some of the rest of these bans. We've hit the Alistar. Siva taken away by Flash Wolves. Azir denied. Now that's Xiaohu banning out the champion himself, despite being incredibly proficient on the pick, as well as Ezreal, Gravefollower. So Kindred still up, Nidalee still up as far as the jungle picks.
Yeah, and they're two that MLXG very highly prizes. I mean, we saw his Graves yesterday. It is fantastic, but the jungle tier in the LPL does seem to be Nidalee, Kindred, everything else.
All right, last ban from Royal Never Give Up is Maokai. So just looking at the top lane picks, Echo, still available, Poppy, still available, something that we've seen a number of times already.
What this tells me is Royal is confident they are better individual players than the LMS's Flash Wolves, because they've taken away Azir, which is kind of a nullifying pick. They've taken away the Maokai, which is a nullifying pick. They've taken away an Ezreal, which is a nullifying pick. They want Flash Wolves to have to fight them early and not play this slow tempo macro game that we saw out of the Flash Wolves yesterday versus SKT.
All right, let's find out whether or not Flash Wolves buy into that strategy, of course. Taking their time on this first rotation with both Kindred and Nidalee up, you kind of think maybe not the highest priority, hence the Echo first pick. And where would Royal go from here? Ryze is already locked in.
Yeah, and Ryze Kindred, what a powerful combo there. They flex the Ryze, Looper still does play it. Xiaohu more than comfortable on the champion as well. And we've seen that kind of Nidalee has started falling off because you do need to be pushing up your lanes, allow that counter jungle or some early game pressure for her to be advantageous, whereas Kindred just gets better as the game goes on because does have that utility in the ult.
All right, so some scaling, some power. The Rise, a little bit of a trap card this tournament. 4 wins, 3 losses overall.
Yeah, G2 is responsible for a couple of those, so, you know, I'm not sure correlation and causation are the same there.
Fair. I'll take that one. Perkz, of course, has played it a number of times already. And Flash Wolves respond with their duo lane, Thresh and Lucian. No big surprises. NL's got a very big, comfortable pick.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's a huge pick for NL. However, the Twitch is still available, and we saw Whoosh play it against the Lucian and is very comfortable in this regard. I love the blocking of the Thresh because it is definitely Marta's second best support here, and we'll see whether RNG do go for that hyper-scaling comp one more time.
All right, hyper-scaling or not? That is the question. They've already got some late-game damage and utility from that Kindred as well as the Rise. The ability to lock somebody down. Braum would be a good pick. Increase the amount of CC you can bring to the table. Saving their AD carry potentially for loss. What is available in the pool? We've seen the Jhin, we've seen the Twitch, and it will be a last pick ADC, maybe waiting for confirmation before they lock the rest.
They want to see if Maple goes Zed. That hover right there will kill a Twitch if it does come out. Also will make sure that Whoosh will struggle on Jhin as well, and the Gauntlet's thrown.
Gauntlet thrown down. Look at the collapse there from the Flash Wolves. Nidalee and Zed. Does Xiaohu opt into the matchup? Rise v Zed, or does he go for what was an old school skill matchup, LeBlanc Zed?
Well, he kind of has to because Poppy's already been locked in here. So, you know, he's got the Rise. Yeah, but this is really interesting because Whoosh wanted to play a very aggressive AD carry. Now he's hovering something like a Tristana because they acknowledge how skilled Maple is on that assassin pickup in the lane. That's why they left AD carry for last pick. They can still go team fight, but they're not going to get the amount of scaling.
It's going to be a little challenging as well for whatever AD carry gets locked in. There's so much mobility and utility from that Echo, the Zed, the Nidalee. They can come from all sorts of angles and flanks. And if Whoosh locks this in, this is brave, because there's a lot of tools available to the LMS, and it is. The Rat's locked in.
Yeah, it certainly is, and this is what they like playing against Lucian, so I'm not all of that surprised. Kindred's job now is to ensure that the Rat can get 5 auto attacks off. That's all you need on Twitch to be able to blow up an entire team, and Maple will be hunting him for dear life.
Let's find out if Maple's going to find him. Throwing the Gauntlet down with the Zed lock-in, knowing it was going to be into that Rise. And Whoosh confident on his Twitch.
And I'm actually really impressed with the Flash Wolves because they acknowledged the bans and they said, you know what? We will pick the winning lanes. We will get the aggressive jungler and we will play your game. And we'll see whether they're able to utilize that to beat them.
Hey, yesterday, both of these teams stepped up and took down SKT in slightly different fashions, but at the end of the day, they are now battling for first place. RNG undefeated at 4-0. Flash Wolves 3-1. Whoever wins this game will hold on to first position, because of course, in the case of a tie, the head-to-head will belong to the winner of this match.
Yeah, certainly will. Coaches shake hands there on stage. Everyone's locked in. This is going to be a very exciting game, as you said, for that top prize.
It's very exciting indeed because the team compositions are going to be very explosive. There's options here for pick, for some split push. There's even some team fight prowess that could come out from either of these teams. And you guys at home, just let us know. For the first time here on day 3, the last game of the first half of the round robin, will it be the LMS's Flash Wolves, #FWN, or will RNG do it? Because they've won the Rift vote. More Chinese players are sporting that MSI icon.
Yeah, they certainly have. For the first time, China has been able to rise to the occasion and take down the LMS in owning the Rift. Have to see whether they can get it done on the Rift, however.
That's the case. Home colors have not worked out advantageous for all of the teams sporting it. And the crowd erupts as we load up.
And one thing about RNG, at least in my opinion, is they've had the most well thought out level 1s in the tournament. CLG have also stepped up in this regard, but you see one more time, they're looking for MMD's Echo. They want to secure a lane swap here because Thresh Lucian, that wife steal bottom lane, is just so potent, and they do not want to have to go toe-to-toe with NL and Sword Art.
No, definitely not the case, especially considering how well they have already performed, becoming a true threat. It's RNG that have started the invade shenanigans and seems to be mirrored by Flash Wolves down on the bottom half of the map. Not the deepest division there from Sword Art's Thresh. However, we'll give some additional information. Not particularly surprised by the Keystones. A slight difference on the Rise here from Xiaohu. We've seen Perks running the wind speakers, if memory serves correctly.
Yeah, so it's whether you're against Control Major or Assassin, Xiaohu not going to be really looking to kill the Zed in laning phase, just wants to scale up, get that tier, get the roller, get to about 25 minutes in. So you can expect that to come out with Strength of the Ages. Maybe the other one that people will be a little bit surprised of, although it is becoming more popular, is the Fervor on MLXG's Kindred. Very aggressive in the early game, wants to find the Nidalee who's running Strength.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few European jugglers running that one throughout the course of the EU LCS playoffs.
They're very similar in their aggressive counter jungling. So.
Yep, definitely like to get in their opponent's faces. But Spawn lane swap is on the cards. And we can see Flash Wolves sticking around this bottom lane. Sword Art going to try to get inside Royal's jungle and face. Damage advantage.
Looper is spotted, but didn't join a double jungle, is very far behind in experience right now because he got absolutely nothing. So going to have to join the top lane push as quickly as he possibly can. This is an area that honestly, the whole of China has struggled with. IEM showed just how incompetent the region was during the lane swap. Thank you very much, Fnatic, for highlighting that incredibly well. And we'll see whether MLXG Looper, as well as that shot-calling Mata, has been able to shore up some of the mistakes, because Flash Wolves showed yesterday their 1-3-1 is very good.
If anything, we've seen from a number of players this tournament, when we asked questions, how would they perform? How will they handle lane swaps? The majority of the answers have been very well. G2 is the only one that's bucking that trend. However, Royal never give up. Shown, dare I say, more macro during the course of the last 2 days than we may have been used to or expecting.
Definitely agree with that, and I think that you also have to acknowledge why they want to play the map. They want to play the map to set up advantageous team fights. Flash Wolves, on the other hand, want to set up the map so they can take down structures, get that gold lead building. Then when they're ahead, they will team fight. So both teams are playing the map relatively well, but have completely separate goals in why they are doing so.
All right, take a look at this tower. Royal are slightly behind. As you can see, that tower is going to be good 5 to 10 seconds maybe in terms of tempo. And that'll allow Flash Wolves to begin making the decisions. You can already see MMD moving up, placing that very deep ward, wait to spot at your opponent duo, and then back away safely. It's that very standard lane swap that we've come to expect.
And you can see the couple of extra second gives them the Rift Scuttler, denies a mark, and also sets up a gank on Xiaohu. So we'll see whether they're able to use this one to create any advantage.
CC needs to connect. Xiaohu, defensive flash. The flay, the death sentence is sidestepped, but it will not matter. It's Flash Wolves that get first blood.
Yeah, and they burn so much for it, but advantage Flash Wolves already in this game. Over-aggressive from Xiaohu. He stepped up to the minion wave. He didn't know where two members were, and he gets made punish.
Kill secured by Karsa, but look at all of the summoner spells invested. Flash Ignite for Mabel, Flash Ignite for Sword Art, and the Flash Exhaust from Xiaohu. We'll find out if that will be problematic, but I doubt it, as this lane swap will take a few more minutes to conclude.
Yeah, definitely. That's the, I guess, luxury you get if you get ahead in that tempo. You're able to make a risky move and not really get punished for it. You can already see NL, Sword Art, they're closer to the turret. They've already stacked up their wave nicely because Looper wasn't able to push out as far as MMD. So tempo advantage firmly in the hands of Flash Wolves so far.
Yeah, giving themselves that gold advantage as well. And look how close they are to that top outer turret. NL and Sword are going to be able to start knocking on that door while Whoosh and Mata still just about to reach the river. So some advantages. Royal, though, they've decided to have a small counterplay.
Yeah,
Mata,
they want a turret dive here.
Winter's Bite. Maple's going to Living Shadow away safely. There's some support for the Wolves hanging around the river, and RNG going to start to back away. No further shenanigans breakouts.
But I don't even know if that's a right call, because they've already lost Rift Scuttler one more time. Another mark falls down. The duo's already on the turret, so they cost themselves more precious time in this lane swap. And it's only just now that RNG's wave will start taking down that tier 1. Flash Wolves might just be able to push through.
So big advantages beginning to grow and brew here for the Flash Wolves. After these second towers fall, the next question will be that Rift Herald, and where do they go after that? In Europe, it would be an inner turret, most likely on the other side of the map, but you can see some recalls from NL and Sword Art. Going to give MMD additional CS, additional experience, and most likely that tower gold as well.
So that's a little bit strange to me, because as you said, you would normally see them cheat off that turret, support jungler would go pick up Rift Herald, then when they would swap back one more time, look for that deep push, see if they can race RNG. However, they don't pick up either of the neutrals. They very much want to stay ahead as far as this CS advantage goes, but it's only really MMD, the main recipientary of that. Everyone else is still quite far, quite even at this stage.
All right, Lupus should finish. One more hit from Minion. We'll take the tower down. I got a tad excited there. But look at Lupa, level 4 to level 4 of MMD. MMD is going to be able to get much closer to level 5 as he's in a Minion wave. And he's got a CS advantage. So Flash Wolves have accrued, honestly, what I think is a substantial lead just from the lane swaps.
At only 6 minutes in the game, I mean, gold is a percentage value just as everything else. So 1,000 gold at 10,000, they're 10% ahead in this game. A massive lead at only this side. As you can see, Fanboat very even, but so far, Flash Wolves showing that they're not going to get greedy in any of their plays and just happy to play the map.
Yeah, they did show a lot of control and patience during the course of yesterday's series. Taking a look at the inventories really quickly, a lot of pink wards picked up here for Royal Never Give Up. And in terms of warding, Mart has done a phenomenal job over the 4 games they've already played and placed a significant number of wards.
Yeah, he certainly has. I mean, they're the most pink warding team so far in the tournament. Able to pick up a lot. It's their use of the pink ward, I guess, if anything that I would criticize. They don't necessarily set up vision around the Baron or Dragon objective well. However, they will take over your jungle with that vision and try and get aggressive for MLXG, who I think is proving to be a very strong jungler at this tournament. It's just not in the way that we're used to seeing these great teams set up around the neutral camps.
All right, Castle's been able to sneak up into this jungle. Javelin, sidestepped. Whoosh. A little lucky on that one, although it wouldn't have made a huge difference. Sword Art and Nano are going to continue shoving up.
And message already delivered. They want that to hit the turret so that they can't freeze it up, and Casa throwing that spear delivers that message. They can no longer try and freeze because they have the extra man advantage. They also invade onto this blue buff. MLXG trying to return the favor on the other side of the rift.
And another frustrating start to the game for MLXG's Kindred. Another mark on that scuttle, Rift Scuttler rather, down in the bottom, will be taken by Flash Wolves as well as the first dragon of the game. And we have to touch on the dragons. Yesterday, Flash Wolves went 9-0. Day before, they went 4-7 in terms of dragons secured, dragons given up.
And this was my biggest criticism of them because this tournament is going late. Whether you think it is the right or wrong thing in the current meta, that's just a fact right now. It's a long average game time, and Flash Wolves weren't respecting that. They were playing very slow League of Legends, plotting League of Legends without picking up the necessary dragons, and CLG made them pay. Smithy able to steal one away as well. So I think that this is a good adaptation out of the Flash Wolves, showing that they're learning day to day in the current tournament meta that we've set up.
I think that's a very good point. The tournament meta growing as MLXG, after an invade, is looking for Maple. The Flash Prison. Maple throws down the death mark. He dances away, but it may not be enough. Lamb's Respite is going to be available and needed for MLXG. Here comes NL. He's got another for Flash Wolves, and the crowd is silenced as RNG are down 0-2.
Once again, 4 summoner spells burnt, but this time it's equalized on RNG, and Flash Wolves still get the trade because of a great reactionary play out of NL. Flashes in, heals his mid laner up, and this is going to burst the map wide open.
The tower will most likely fall here unless Royal really commit to the wave clear, and they do. Xiaohu burns through the last of his mana pool, and that's a lot of damage down. Flash Wolves 2 kills up. They've got themselves a dragon, they've got a gold lead, and here's that replay.
Yeah, it certainly is. So you can see, smart play here. They flash in, they go aggressive on Maple, but he's such a good Zed player. Uses the ultimate to gap close, and that's really what it was about. Good communication, and now able to save up his mid laner. Unfortunately, MLXG can't get behind Woosh, and this is the big prize. Sure, the kill is nice, but mid lane turret, opening up the mid lane with a Zed on your team is going to be so good as the game progresses.
2,500 gold up just from their lane swap decision making. Flash Wolves have clearly won this early game. Now they need to transition into mid lane control, mid-game control.
So let's have a look at what they want to do now. They have a great 3-man unit. I mean, Casa, NL, Sorta. They're going to be able to automatically wave clear at least one wave with the culling. They can just be nice and patient, play to MMD and Maple's current strength, play the side lanes, and they can collapse if it ever gets to RNG grouping up in these fights, because when you look at it, they have a Rise, they have the Twitch as well as the Kindred. This is a 5v5 team fighting comp out of RNG, and Flash Wolves are just never going to let them get to that stage.
No, they will not, if everything keeps going that way. And for Flash Wolves, it's all about control. You know, yesterday they had a very controlled victory over SKT. Royal maybe took a little longer. However, they were going about in completely different ways. And if Flash Wolves can rechannel that similar style of performance, that map play, the vision, the decision making, it's going to be very difficult for RNG to find those 5v5s.
Yeah, it certainly is. You can already see that they want to be pushing up because they have the line of blue wards in the jungle right now of RNG. Mata and MLXG have tried to replicate that to secure the Twitch farm. However, cannot do so on the top side of the map. So Loop is being forced off the wave. MMD is getting even bigger at this current point. In fact, he feels he can go first item Iceborne Gauntlet, which is so rare after the nerfs. And they have a legitimate job of getting to Whoosh's Twitch, whereas yesterday, I do not feel that was the case when it was locked in.
You just need to find out if they can do it. That's going to be the true test, right? Find those flanks, find the wards. We've got pretty good vision in that bottom quadrant of the jungle. Flash Wolf's trying to kind of mirror that up top. And Spawn, I know yesterday, off air, we discussed quite a lot about Whoosh's itemization in his build.
Yeah, so...
First item, Hurricane again.
Normally you would see a Blade of the Ruined King into something. Here we go. He's going to set up for a gank.
Let's find out. Whoosh is looking in for the ambush, and hello! NL's just going to dash away. Yeah, I got a bit excited.
Well played by NL there, but that's what they kind of want to do. So you normally see Bork into Hurricane into IE. However, Whoosh lacks the activatable items. So goes towards something like the Ghostblade second for a little bit more damage. Will mean that he doesn't have the lifesteal to try and tank up Maple. So really it's about the Kindred. You think this is kind of crazy for a Twitch. He needs lifesteal. Kindred just needs to keep him alive for long enough to kill everyone. Afterwards, Whoosh can die. Like, his job is already done. So pressure on MLXG and Whoosh to be on the same page during these team fights and flanks.
Luckily for MLXG, he gets his hands on that Rift Herald after Flash Will's kind of done goofed. Let it reset, pulled it a little too far, trying to be too cheeky, but it's Flash Wolves that have got exceptional tower pressure. 1, 2, 3, 4-man stack down bottom, but Looper has arrived just in time, and Flash Wolves don't fully commit, but this will be another blue steal. That's 2 back-to-back. May as well call him Zoolander at this point in time.
Yeah, it certainly is. However, top side of the map has kind of belonged to RNG because they've been able to do something similar, whereas bottom side of the map definitely belonging to Flash Wolves right now. I want to talk about what that actually did, however, because Whoosh has to duck into Fog of War. He can't pressure that lane. Right now, MND's even probably stronger than him, so he doesn't want to challenge for farm. So right now, they're trying to secure Looper farm, get him tankier in this mid game. However, it's coming at the cost of their hyper carry now because they've traded him away from where they had all of that vision set up earlier. So RNG trying to jockey for position, but it feels like Flash Wolves are always the first one to the punch.
Yeah, definitely the case. I mean, they've been dictating the tempo of the game. You know, deciding. They didn't really initiate the lane swap, however, responded better to it.
Yeah.
You could argue predicted it, so to speak. It was a lane matchup that Spawn, even you were mentioning, you didn't really want to step into if you were Royal Never Give Up. But what does this mean for the next few minutes?
For the next few minutes, immediate power has been picked up by the Flash Wolves. I mean, Yomu's, you look at Essence Reaver, it's just such a good first item buy for NL. However, this game is not going to explode for quite some time because they still need to continue to set up their side wave and continue to stack these dragon advantages. And what this does against a team like Royal, who doesn't like giving up dragons for free, they're trying to draw them out of the jungle, trying to make them make that first mistake so they can capitalize in a big way. So Royal trying to do a good job of consolidating their own vision, not give anything else up.
Good damage already. Royal don't want to give up. Glacial Fissure into the pit. There's 1 lantern taken. Maple's going to have his Living Shadow. All Flash still. Even cheeky. Pit against the wall. Maple forced to flash. Gets the heal down from Casa. And the fight is on. Marta's unbreakable. Will be broken. Death sentence. Flay. Box. Marta's taken down. NL have got themselves the hat trick of kills. NL standing on the front line. The Dragon's still up. Rat-a-tat-tat. No one from Flash Wolves goes splat. Kindred will secure the Dragon at NL. He's down. Looper's on the board. And Royal did not give up. Now MLXG is chasing MMD. Chrono Break's already been channeled, used. It's a jungler on jungler battle, but it's MLXG that's coming away worse for wear. I take it back as MMD is the top laner, pins Looper into the wall, and that's going to be another for Royal.
And Looper goes massive in the team fight. He catches out Maple to burn his flash, make sure the mid laner isn't there, catches NL, and then sets up the last kill on MMD. So the top laner, formerly of Samsung White and Masters 3, playing much better League of Legends this time around and securing RNG their first big objective of the game.
And a team fight success. So here's a replay. Maple decides to stick around this pit a long time.
Yeah, he certainly does. He wants to see whether he can get any cheeky engages, but Looper just nails him here, and they're able to put down too much damage. So already that big advantage that Flash Wolves secured in the mid lane, useless. And sure, Martin gets blown up here. but it's all about the top laner from Royal. Just watch his positioning. He's playing at the front of the team fight along with Xiaohu, and anytime anyone steps into that danger zone, he's just willing to pop them.
Definitely the case. NL just a great pin, and Lupa, you know, he knocked Carcer away from the Dragon. He pins NL against the wall, and he's even going to finish off MMD from around the corner.
And this is something that you have to state. If you are running a 5v5 teamfight comp and your tank is stronger, it is so much easier to execute on the game because you have longer time where you don't have to play the cleanest of League of Legends. It affords you an extra mistake in there. And now with the 2 kills picked up, completed Sunfire Cave, no greedy Sheen purchase out of Lupa. He's going to get tankier faster and become a monster.
And I want to talk about Lupa a little bit more because there was a fair amount of discussion around the top laners, who's going to be good, who's going to be bad, and Lupa didn't have the highest expectations coming in.
Well, the reason is he came off Samsung White, where people said he was good, but the rest of the team kind of overshadowed him, into a team with Dade called Masters 3, and they were abysmal. They fought out of relegation twice in the LPL, and honestly, Lupa didn't have the best of years. However, now coming back to Royal, teaming up with Mata, using those teleport plays once again, and a much heavier tank meta seems to suit the top laner of Royal, and has begun to reassert himself in the LPL, and now at MSI is one of the dominant top laners.
Yeah, and of course, that backup or that additional frontline in Mata has been good. Mata made so many questionable decisions during the spring split. The number of times that Mata just wandered into enemy jungle, wandered into enemy territory and gave up deaths, that's kind of what I was expecting, but it's not happened in this 5 games.
Well, the funny thing is when Mata joined Vici with Dandy, they were so macro heavy. They were one of the only teams in the LPL that did play macro, but they said it was because their carries weren't as good. When Mata teamed back up with Woosh, Xiaohu, MLXG, he got a little bit reckless. He was willing to make these big plays. Now, however, he's also showing some discipline and patience. Lupa, you're in trouble.
Oh, it's a 3v1. Deathmark is going to be available. The Flay holds Lupa in place. Carcer gets knocked away. Deathmark is proccing. When the pop goes down, it's not going to be enough for the kill. Lupa survives for a few seconds longer. Flash from NL. Flash Wolves are looking for another one. Lupa is still alive and makes it away from 4.
And all of a sudden, the first mistake of the game from Flash Wolves, because meanwhile, they get cross-mapped, they lose a turret for free, and they burn so much. Triple summon a spell one more time. Ignite, Flash from NL, and Sword Art, and they still don't get their man.
The thing is, everybody's been saying Flash Wolves. They've used to play a fast game, looking for some aggression. They've got these early game champions. They're trying to make those plays, but it just didn't pay off quite as well as it could have.
And you must think it's because they don't want this to get to very late game. MLXG, Woosh, Xiaohu are all going to outscale their opponent. As we take another look at this, Lupa just so calm, dodges out on the spear, holds all of his cooldowns, dodges out a hook, gets rid of his man there in the jungler Carcer, and just is able to kite around turret after turret. NL's flash is greedy here because it's probably not worth a flash. They could have just secured the turret instead, but they'd already spent so much on the kill. He felt like he had to get his man.
Especially with a minute and a half till the next dragon. We've already seen Royal willing to contest despite being in a deficit.
And even though it looks like Woosh is behind in gold, he's up in items because he's completed our 2 versus components on NL's side. Also, Twitch's ultimate is just going to mean much more in these engages. You take another look, you know, a very good Hex drink of purchase here out of MLXG because he needs to be able to survive MMD, who's going to be diving that back lane as well, along with Carcer. So I just think that for now, even though gold is still in Flash Wolves' favor, they're going to have a slight advantage. This is a greedy play.
And you can hear the crowd. They're up in arms. MMD will be able to spot this out in a moment or two. NL will be running up from the mid lane, and I think wisely, Royal back away. That was within 5 seconds of Baron spawning.
Yeah, it certainly was. They had the Rift Herald with them as well. So that was an interesting play because they don't really have someone right now who they want to throw against Maple in the bottom lane. He is the strongest member for Flash Wolves. So they try and control that objective. They don't get it, but they wisely back away without burning too much.
And important to note, MMD is teleport available. It's only a 1 TP aside game. Lupa burned his recently. Flash forward for NL. The Rat-a-tat-tat will be thwarted by the Lantern, but Royal may get a lot of damage onto this turret. The culling comes down to clear the way. Teleporting from behind from MMD. Remember, it is still available. Lupa has to run from the bottom lane, but Maple does too. Parallel convergence stuns nobody. A good time winder will buy some time. Mata burned his flash already. And luckily, Royal never give up, make it away without any problems.
Yeah, but a lot burnt there. You know, double summoner spells out of Xiaohu, a splash out of Mata as well. Kind of kills any engage they have, so they're going to have to give up another dragon. You understand the idea to pick mid lane to try and burst open the map, but just didn't pay off as NL and Sword Art kind of reacted appropriately.
And I think you have to give Sword Art some praise. That's the second time an engage has happened mid lane. Sword Art's been close enough that that Lantern has been valuable, has been somewhat reading Royal, and right at the right place at the right time for the Wolves.
And I just love that we get to talk about two of the classiest support players in the world. Sword Art has picked up majority of that shot calling now that Stake is the coach. Mata has always done it in his career. Two of the best in the business going head to head on champions like Thresh. It's just so fun to watch.
And now if you expand that discussion a little further, Flash Wolves, you know, they've got the same team from Worlds last year. They've been through different metas. They've explored last year's lane swap to this year's lane swap. And it just seems like they are a very well-oiled unit at this point in time, you know, surprising many from what we were expecting from their LMS region.
Yeah, and it doesn't really surprise me all that much that even though these teams are equally skilled, they play different styles of League of Legends, because it's what you just mentioned, you know, a team that has been together for so long, that have this refined style of gameplay against a brand new Royal Never Give Up, who are, you know, a little bit down and dirty, a little bit scrappy, equally talented, but willing to get in there and kind of just throw themselves at the opponents. And it's very interesting to see when these conflicting styles come together, because teleport honestly doesn't mean that much against Royal, because they make you burn it so often reactionary. You saw, we were talking about MMD, he has the teleport advantage. What do? They try and blow up NL. All of a sudden, teleport's back to equal because they're willing to make that aggressive play.
So maybe mind gaming it as well. Royal forcing the hand of Flash Wolves.
They're back to Baron one more time as well. They're hovering that area. Something that we criticize them about, they haven't been able to control Rift Scuttler. They haven't double pink worn Baron, as all teams should know at this level to secure themselves vision, but they definitely gravitate towards that part of the map.
Hey, look, it helps force a team fight, right? And when you've got a team comp that is great at 5v5, as we've mentioned...
If you set it up correctly. SKT were kind of like, we're just not going there because we know you're not doing it, so really does need to be tightened up, but that is something you can learn overnight. A coach can pull you aside and be like, hey, just, you know, get a couple of pink wards instead of the one that you're used to, because they are buying them. It's just the position that's a little bit off.
Let's find out if they can. That was MLXG's second mark of the Kindred, by the way, at 23 minutes. A little unlucky and a little bit controlled by his opponents, but that is, of course, because Flash Wolves have that dominant lane swap start and we're moving just a few steps quicker. I think they got 3 scuttles back-to-back before MLXG got his hands on the first one.
Yeah, it certainly is interesting because he's sated, so he's done a good job of farming, but it just hasn't been on the camps that he wants to. At the same time, Karsa has picked up his Roa, had it for a while now. I don't mind Roa. Like, people are going to be like, it's a fantastic item. I do agree. I just think that Rylai's has kind of taken its place and offers a little bit more towards the latter stages of the game. I would like to see him go both in this matchup, because he does need to be able to dive the Twitch and put a lot of pressure down.
We'll find out if he gets his hands on that Rylai's later in the game. And the Twitch picked up that agility cloak, has the Ghost Blade and the Hurricane, so same build to what we saw yesterday. I wonder about Maple. I want to keep my eyes on how his Deathmark impacts the game, because you don't really want to be jumping on a Looper or Xiaohu with the shield. Then there's going to be a Mark of the Kindred, and Whoosh eventually should pick up that QSS, but at 25 minutes in, 0-0-2 on Maple Z and down 50 CS, that's not a great start for one of the mid laners we're expecting to really carry this game.
Especially when you burn double summoner spells on Xiaohu early in the game. This should have been a lane that Karsa could have got into, but at the same time, the lane swap kind of dictated where he had to be on the map as well. You can see GA is going to be the third item out of Xiaohu. You don't want to ult Looper. I really do think his job becomes, can you pick Mata when he goes for deep vision and control that area of RNG's play? Because he is so important to the initiations, as Afro pointed out in his interview after day one. So it could be an area they look at.
And you have to ask the questions from Maple. It was a last rotation Z. Where does it start becoming impactful? Dragon's going to be up in a minute and a half. We've had fights around the last few. And MLXG, another I'm going to say interesting build. Yesterday, his Graves was very, very aggressive, and he's picked up another Phantom Dancer.
Yeah, so that's because he wants to be able to survive the burst out of Maple as well. So tag him with the Phantom Dancer, get yourself the Sterix as your 4th completed item, and just live through this Zed's burst damage. It takes away another target from Maple to be able to blow up. Not to mention, I guess, Lamb's Respite is always going to be available. So they are making Maple's job incredibly difficult. And this is something that the Chinese teams do like to do. They like to target out your best player. They did it at MSI versus Faker and say, sure, we're happy for anyone else on this team to beat us, but we will not let Maple Zed get that snowball going.
That doesn't seem to be the case. Flash Wolves threw everything in the kitchen sink at Royal in the early game, multiple times. Got themselves an advantage, but that is now truthfully negligible.
Yeah. And let's get honest, like Lucian versus Twitch, the advantage is nullified because Twitch is 1,500 gold better than Lucian at this stage of the game, just through his ultimate, if they can set up correctly. So
luckily for NL, he is 1,500 gold up thanks to 60 CS advantage. So that will help share or soften rather the weaknesses in terms of that kit from the Rat-a-tat-tat stats. But you can't deny those gigantic differences, 50 in the mid lane with Xiaohu winning, and then obviously 60 for NL.
And this is actually something that Deficio pointed out to me. NL will get a lot of side farm that in other regions would go to Maple. Even though they're a 1-3-1 team, if a big lane stacks up, normally where you send your mid laner, Flash Wolves do send their AD carry player. And you can see that Xiaohu has been the beneficiary of that, and NIL has not.
And the teleport's being channeled by MMD. He's arrived north of the river. Looper held onto his. There's a lot of poison stacks on this dragon. It's being focused, but the dragon's reset. Looper's pinned Caster against the wall. Dragon secured by Royal. The box is down, splitting up the river. MMD's jumped forward. Lamb's Respite means nobody will die yet until Maple is knocked away, pinned against the wall. Xiaohu flashes forward, taking down the damage dealer of NL, while Caster was killed off on the back line. Sword Art's in trouble. Prison down. A flash forward from MLXG. They're going to continue the chase. Sword Art lands a death sentence, but it will only cost him his life.
They got him all.
Ace for Royal never give up, and they peel for Baron.
Straight away they go towards a Baron objective, and this is a team fighting team like Flash Wolves were not prepared for. Looper again pouncing like a cat onto an overextending carry in Casa and able to take him down, then tackle someone out of the Lamb's Respite. Royal are playing such good team fighting League of Legends.
Exceptionally well played. They grab their second dragon, and Ace and the Baron. And they are now in complete control with a 3k gold lead.
Let's take another look at this, and once again, just watch Looper because he's having a sensational series. Steps forward, pins Casa straight away. They blow him up, has no part in this team fight. Able to occupy the front line because of those extra tanky stats, and then knocks Maple out of the Lamb's Respite to take him down as well. From there, it's just cleanup duty for the rest of the team. But hats off to Looper. Such a rough 2015 season. 2016 seems to be making a huge mark.
Whoosh flashing forward for that kill, and no hesitation on the Baron. Royal are 4-0 coming into this game. They lost the laning phase by a fair margin. But found a team fight, found a way to get back into it.
And this is the risk of prioritizing neutrals against Royal. We say it all the time, they're just looking for any excuse to fight you right now. If you want to extended lane, if you want to teleport into their bottom lanes, Royal will just stay in laning phase forever like they did versus Edward Gaming in the final and fight you down there. If you want to group around Dragon or Baron, they will fight you there. The way you beat this team is by separating the map. Flash Wolves should be able to do that with Echo, with the Zed, and open it up for a 1-3-1, but they have not been doing it because every time they try, Royal goes aggressive.
And currently is winning every single aggressive move. Looper's just finding so many of those heroic charges into the walls. 204 has teleport available, and Baron buff pushing down bottom.
And those first 2 kills could not have gone to a better player because he is tanky enough to make these plays. He has absolutely no fear of anyone in the Flash Wolves lineup.
None whatsoever, nor the rest of Royal. Guardian Angel on Xiaohu, Infinity Edge for Whoosh, more of Mortius for MLXG. Like, everybody is just getting tankier and tankier, and they've got so much damage to back it up as well.
Yeah, and such a cute composition as well. Even their squishy members aren't squishy because all they need is a couple of seconds to blow someone up in the Lamb's Respite. And now they want to go aggressive on Lupa. That was a weird ult.
Yeah, didn't need to pull the trigger. Could have just gone full helicopter for that one.
The Poppycopter.
Yep, that's it. Allowed it to wear off. But it will give some time for Royal in this middle lane. Get a couple of autos down at least. Whoosh will finally step forward. Wow, 50-60% of the tower is dropped in what feels like an instant.
And this was all generated off Xiaohu's GA pickup, because now all of a sudden he is also a frontliner. Didn't go for avoid stuff because there's not all of that much magic resistance picked up so far. I mean, it is gold efficient because of the Aegis, but it's just not worth it because now he can approach turrets, zone away NL, who is pretty much a 500 range AD carry at this stage. And he caught him out.
They have indeed. NL's in trouble. He's been knocked up into the air by the Fisher. Forced to flash away defensively. The tower goes down, but Royal are stood on top. Lamb's Respite. MMD's caught without support, and he does manage to make it away thanks to that Z-Drive resonance. The inhibitor will fall. RNG have opened the base.
And such disciplined play one more time out of Royal. It's like watching the best of the team from the LPL without any of their sloppy tendencies. They win a team fight. They don't get kills, but they don't chase. They secure the inhibitor and back away.
Absolutely clean. 5,000 gold in the lead. Baron will be wearing off shortly, but it doesn't matter because Supers will keep Flash Wolves locked inside their base.
And I want to talk about NL's item build. In the LPL, going Infinity Edge third on Lucian is seen to be very greedy, because if you don't have the lifesteal, if you don't have the QSS versus Arise, you will get blown up time and time again. This is a couple of times we've seen it in this tournament. They want maximum damage out of their AD carries, but it's just not working out in their favor.
No, it is not. And NL is being shut down despite the strong farm, despite the strong start to the game. And Spawn, LPL, Royal never give up. Look to take down every region that has stood in front of them. If they can just continue this control now that they've regained the reins.
What an important moment for the region as well, after what was honestly a very disappointing, almost somewhat called it disgraceful Worlds performance.
Oh wow, look at MLXG. He's sidestepping everything. Challenges 4 members of the Flash Wolves, and with Xiaohu's help, comes out ahead. Here comes Lupa. For the first time this game finds no stun, but the verdict is Flash Wolves, you will be defeated. Lupa continues to chase down. 2 members of the Wolves are down.
And all of a sudden, they just cannot be stopped. MLXG looking confident in his play. Honestly, they're looking to end the game.
They certainly are. Turn their attention to the top. Not yet. Super Minion will tank up. There's a GA for Xiaohu. 5v3 for another 20 seconds. And the Nexus turret will be falling. Lupa is on the front line, tanking up the minute.
They can't get in.
There's nothing that Flash Wolves can do. The Fisher comes down to split up Flash Wolves' attempt. And all Maple can do is buy some time. Royal never give up. Take down the Nexus and stand on top of the world. Undefeated. 5-0 at the mid-season Invitational.
And after a sloppy early game, Royal smashed the Flash Wolves in 33 minutes. I mean, Xiaohu, massive. MLXG, huge in this performance. Whoosh does his job. You cannot underestimate the Chinese carry on this superstar team.
Crowd erupts as Royal leave their seats. It was looking scary for Royal in the first 15-20 minutes of the game. They were under a lot of pressure. They were behind in gold. They were behind in tempo. But they were able to find a dragon fight that turned it all around.
Yeah, and what this shows is that 1-3-1 will work against Royal. You can get the early lead, but you need to be disciplined and not take the team fights that they present to you, because that is their game. And Flash Wolves fell straight into that trap.
Flat on their faces into that trap. But you know, you've got to step back again, and I think look to maybe Lupa this game a little bit more than yesterday Mata's games, but Lupa was exceptional. He was behind in experience, behind in CS, behind in the lane swap against his opposite number MMD, but it didn't matter because he found time and time again targets to pin against the wall and to buy time for Royal to kill the rest of Flash Wolves.
And the impressive thing is that it's Mata or Lupa going, the 2 Korean players, and then the Chinese players not hesitating in their follow-up. When we saw the LPL at Worlds last year, that was not the case. You could see the obvious miscommunication between the Chinese and Korean players. That now longer seems to be an issue for Royal.
No, it definitely isn't. And this is something that Royal have done, I think, very well in terms of their team strengths. When they pick a target, when they have a team fight, they are all on the same page. There is a level of understanding that transcends the language barriers.
Yeah, and it seems that you give an initiation tool to Lupa or Mata and follow up CC to Xiaohu, to MLXG, and then they're able to funnel into the fight correctly. It looks like when Xiaohu's starting off fights, it's still a little bit disjointed, but if it's Lupa or Mata, they generally get their man.
I think that's fair when you think of the Xiaohu engages in the mid lane, was flashing forward for that Rune Prison, it just was maybe a second early, or maybe this is some praise to Sword Art, because Sword Art saved a lot of people with that Thresh.
And I think that this shows that individually, Flash Wolves is still a classy team. I mean, Maple didn't have the best game, but he's on Zed, and they kind of nullified his pick through their pick ban. Sword Art still performed well. Casa still had a reasonably good game, at least early as well. So Flash Wolves should go away from this and think, you know what, we lost to them this time, but next time we will get them on the red side.
Absolutely. We have to question that Zed pick. I wonder if the analyst desk will as well. Let's head over to them to break down Royal's 5th straight win.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot. We will question some of the picks, I'm sure, as we talk about RNG's perfect first round robin here. Jumping straight into Champions Select, though, Twitch, Kindred. This is a combo that is starting to look scarier and scarier as we see it played by RNG.
Yeah, and I think all this starts basically in the first rotation for RNG, which I think is very, very smart and a good understanding of the meta, which is one of the reasons they're 5-0 at the moment. So when they basically see their Azir ban, or they ban Azir themselves, they obviously see Flash Wolves have a Graves ban coming in, which is kind of odd, but you would normally only see that if you really want to trade like Kindred for Nidalee, which means you can actually first pick something else, and that's why they first pick the Echo. Instantly, RNG is saying, okay, 280 carry bans, we know you're going to play Lucian now. So if we pick Kindred, we have our Twitch, you know, the Chinese players like to play Twitch into the Lucian, so we know we have Twitch later, and Twitch Kindred as a combination is so scary.
It is.
And I loved this game because it's such a clear example of why so many variations of team fighting teams are being drafted and being played in the current meta. Because there's a very small margin for error if you're running something like the Flash Wolves decided to run, this 1-3-1, where they have to rely on Zed. And there was this point for them. They got the early lead, but they have to continue with that 1-3-1 style and use that 1-3-1 to pressure the side lanes, then take dragons after they already have map control. But their big mistake was collapsing on that second dragon without first setting it up with the tools that they had in the 1-3-1. Try and pressure first, and then they take this team fight and they get out team fight by the team fighting composition. It's just the ease of execution is there for the team fight.
Exactly. I think we have seen Maple play Zed into Ryze, but there's such a short window. What you have to do is you have to get a side lane 1v1 and then outplay the opponent AD or outplay the Ryze. But in this case, they didn't really consistently push for that, and once it comes to the Dragon team fight, it was just pretty much over.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Flash Wolves execute the 1-3-1 yesterday to Fishio. However, they did have the double teleport. This time with the Zed, they seemed a little bit more off kilter and not able to collapse on those dragons as early as they needed to, as Kobe mentioned, in order to set up for them proactively.
Yeah, I think a few things are going wrong for Flash Wolves when we look at the Zed pick and the way they played compared to yesterday. Yesterday, they actually had better scaling and also had double teleport. So you could play a 1-3-1 basically just to farm, and actually didn't just scale up into late game. You didn't really have to rush anything. In this game, I think Flash Wolves are making a mistake, but I understand the mistake in taking the early dragon in the lane swap and saying we want to start snowballing the 5 dragons as fast as possible. The problem is it's not a consistent way of playing. They were really far ahead in tempo. They took the first tower much earlier. We're supposed to just swap at top lane, keep the tempo advantage going. You eventually get 1 or 2 towers above them, but they took the early dragon instead.
Exactly. The dragon stacking is supposed to be an advantage for this squad, but it's an advantage that you earn after you pressure the split push.
And I just want to say that Flash Wolves are probably not that familiar with this time of team fighting. We haven't seen them done 1-3-1 much this split. They used to play with more tank top, not much resources. And also, like, the dragon stacking is also pretty new to them.
Let's take a look at some of these fights. We'll look at the first dragon that went in favor of RNG. So the second dragon of the game.
And this is one where Looper definitely does deserve credit. Look at this here. Maple and Flash Wolves, they do have a gold advantage, but boom, gets Ryze Prison, then Looper immediately takes him out of the fight. That's so much away from Flash Wolves.
There's just so many things though going wrong for Flash Wolves here. First of all, your mid laner is basically out of the fight at first, and you're trying now to steal a dragon after. And there's a rule to follow. Never try and steal a dragon and also fight at the same time, because it never works for you. You end up just rushing into it. You have no proper positioning. But again, in the first place, Flash Wolves should never have been here.
Exactly.
Because you're supposed to right now play 1-3-1 with 3 lanes pushing at the same time. So once you have the RNG team push all the way back to the tier 2 towers, you can just walk to Dragon freely and they can't even follow.
I want to push this into our second replay just because we only have so much time. And this is, you know, a very sweet illustration of being outscaled and not able to team fight because of the early mistakes, because of not winning those early fights and getting that lead. If Flash Wolves get stuck between a rock and a hard place, they can't win the fight they need that they need around this last dragon. So as we pull that up, we'll see it play out.
This is basically where you can't say anything about the teams. You can just look at the team compositions and say RNG's composition here is so much better at team fighting. And great start again, obviously from Lupa on this puppy and understanding his role as a tank when someone tries to steal his dragon.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He gets a great charge. This one taking him out of the Lamb's Respite, into the wall, gets the stun. Obviously, that first replay of the first team fight that RNG won when they were down gold to get that first dragon was the key one to get them the leverage to get into this game. But after that, you can see Flash Wolves are pretty desperate. At that point, they know that they've lost control when they lose their edge.
I want to give the closing point to Clement here because we heard Spawn talk about, and Trevor talk about the fact that Flash Wolves should hold their head high after this. You know, it isn't about, oh, well, we've lost. And 1, you've lost to the undefeated team, the team in first. 2, you have shown that you can play 1-3-1 in the early game correctly. It's just about fixing those tiny mistakes and cleaning it up a little bit.
Exactly, and when we saw the Flash Wolves do this, like, they had good leads early game. Their lane swap was better. They were faster in it, but they gave up a little bit of tempo here and there, and I think it's just the unfamiliarity with the styles that they're playing here. Like, that trap might have worked domestically. When they play fast-paced, back at LMS, it works most of the time, but they really haven't been able to get it going right now.
All right, well, with that, it's time for an inside look at RNG's win to open the day. We're going to send it down to Shox in the interview lounge.
Very much, Dash. I am happy to be joined here by MLXG, the jungler for RNG after they went undefeated in the first stage of the group stage. In this game versus the Flash Wolves, you guys showed a lot of fights. MLXG, it didn't start off perfect for you guys, but the minute the team fight started, you had it. How confident were you in your composition that you would be able to come back in that game?
这场比赛刚开始的时候呢，你们有些劣势，但是你们的阵容是不是特别好？然后从什么时候开始，你们能确定你们在团战都能打赢？
在小龙团的时候，因为我们是打团战嘛，然后他们有节是要去4-1分的，但是他们选择来跟我们打团，我觉得他们这个决定非常错误，所以说我们能赢下来团战。
So MLXG thinks that they have a team fight composition, while for Flash Wolves, they are split push. Their Zed shouldn't fight, and they made a horrible decision fighting that dragon.
They did, and that's what eventually snowballed everything for you guys. Now, MLXG, the Flash Wolves put up a good fight. You guys have beat every single team in the region so far. Who do you think might be the strongest team out of the ones you've beaten?
现在你们已经5-0了，在第一轮里面，然后你们战胜了所有对手。那你觉得这5支对手里面哪支队最厉害？
我觉得这届 MSI 每个队伍都非常强，都需要非常认真的去对待。
You think all teams coming to MSI are super strong and they are spending equally amount of energy into facing each enemies?
You guys are being very humble. Your teammate Mata as well yesterday didn't want to say too much about the expectations. However, going undefeated in the first stage of the group stage, did that exceed or match your expectations that you had before coming into MSI?
你的队友 Mata 昨天在采访时非常谦虚，他说他还是对这个比赛没有特别多的期待值最后的结果。那你觉得你们这个比赛你们该有什么样的期望？
先小组出线，然后尽力打好接下来的所有比赛。
So first off, they will have to make sure they make out of groups, and then they will try their best on every other games.
All right, also very humble. Final question, one of our analysts said all the teams have come from the world to China and they are having to play like the LPL and having to play like the Chinese teams and focus on team fighting and being very aggressive. Does that mean that you guys have a big advantage going into the rest of the tournament? Because they all have to play your game.
有一个评论嘉宾说到，说所有来到上海比赛的队伍都打得非常像 LPL 联赛一样，打得非常有侵略性，很多的团战。你觉得他们适应了这种打法的话，是不是对你们有一个额外的优势？因为你们就是支 LPL 的战队。
其实风格也并不是说跟 LPL 那么相像，主要是因为我觉得他们是在中国服务器训练嘛，所以说可能风格就有点偏。LPL 化了。
He thinks they're not that close to the LPL style yet, but he thinks since they play a lot of China solo queue, so they might somehow adapt it to Chinese playstyle.
All right, we will see what happens. Well, congratulations, MLXG. RNG undefeated in the first stage of the group stage. And who isn't undefeated? That is the world champion SKT 0-2 yesterday. And they are going up against North America's CLG after the break. A great matchup. Don't miss it. We will be right back.
It's RNG undefeated at 4-0. Flash Wolves 3-1. Whoever wins this game will hold on to first position. Lupa survives for a few seconds longer. Flash from NL. Flash Wolves are looking for another one. Lupa is still alive. Dragon secured by Royal. The box is down, splitting up the river. MMD's jump forward. Lambstra's bite means nobody will die yet until Maple is knocked away. Here comes Lupa for the first time in this game. Finds no stun, but the verdict is Flash Wolves, you will be defeated.